Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Katie. And this is Kara Compares.
Sometimes we reshoot these beginnings because we start off kind of weak, and then I realize, and then you change it up. You change up how the entrance is.
Yes.
The intro.
Yeah.
The intro to the entrance.
Whatever, they know who we are. Huh?
They do. They know who we are, but they don't know where we are. Where are we? Right now, I've never seen this place. Like, this is crazy. It's also nighttime, so it's actually the lighting's really bad.
It's like 3 feet.
It's
backward.
3 feet backwards? Oh, wait, so we usually shoot it over there.
Yes.
Got you. Yes. And we also have like 15 lights, and
it looks so
It is
dark
so dark.
and depressing.
It's not this dark in real life.
Yes.
Well, I mean, not here. Not in this room. It's dark. Anyway, why are we in a different position? Do we need more table space so that we can have bigger foods, or perhaps a bigger hall?
Not today, but we do need the table because we are doing a tabletop board game.
And which one? Armata Strigoi. What is Armata Strigoi? What does that mean?
It's a song by Powerwolf.
It is a song by Powerwolf. Interesting. Are we fans of Powerwolf?
I don't know.
So we did go see Powerwolf in theaters. The end of last year, end of 2024.
Yeah, it was like
right?
Maybe September, October,
something like that. But point being that for Christmas this year, I noticed that they had a fancy cardigan hooded thing, and I thought that's going to be great for Katie. So let me go ahead and get that for her. But they didn't ship to Germany. But it also said get a free.
What? No, they only.
Or they only ship to Germany.
Yes.
We're not in Germany. They only ship to Germany or whatever. They didn't ship to the States at the time. And so they'd also said in that, like, oh, if you order early, like the first 100 people will get an expansion to Armata Strigoi. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, Armata Strigoi is a board game. That's kind of cool. It's like one of their songs, Armata Strigoi. Maybe they worked with. No, this is a Powerwolf board game featuring.
How cool is that?
Huh?
I said, how cool is that?
How cool is that indeed? Featuring all the dudes from Powerwolf. So this is instead, because we couldn't get the cardigan, this is the thing I bought for Katie for Christmas, because this is awesome. And I feel like every awesome power metal band needs a board game. They need a board game. I want Ailstorm. I want Dragon Force, Glory Hammer.
Sabaton actually has one with the same company.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about, what do we need to know about this going in? First of all, Armata Strigoi means Army of Strigas. No, what does it mean?
No, Strigoi are the vampires.
Vampires, because Powerwolf is very cleverly...
They're werewolves.
They're werewolves. They're like religious, pope-like werewolves.
Yeah.
So, something like, it's weird. Metal is religion.
Yes.
As it goes. Okay. So this was made by a company called Pegasus Spiel?
Yeah, so it's Pegasus Spiel, and then...
Is it Spiel or Spiel?
I would say Spiel, but...
Spiel?
Again, I don't speak German, so apologies if my pronunciation is subpar.
Or as I say in German... Actually, I've got nothing clever for that. I was going to say, like, apology! I have nothing. Nothing aggressive. Anyway.
So it seems like it's kind of a, I don't know, collab, but there's two board game publishers. So there's Pegasus Spiel, which obviously sounds German because it is a German company.
Makes sense.
They've been around since 1993. They have a slew of games. If you've ever heard of like Dwarf Romantic or something, I think that was in one of the board game stores we had like.
Dwarf Romantic?
Yeah, it's like Dwarf Romantic or something. I don't know. They have like, or anyway, they have a lot of.
That's a board game, or is that a company?
Dwarf Romantic. It's a board game.
Okay, we'll have to look that up.
I thought it was at the whatever that board game store was in the mall.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's that, and then there's Scribabs.
Scribabs,
that's actually an Italian company. They're from Torino. And so Paolo, what is his name? Paolo Valencia? Valega? I can't see.
Valerga?
Whatever you're...
Paolo.
Paolo.
Yeah.
I don't know why that makes me think of the Lizzie McGuire movie. Because she's like, sing to me, Paolo. Your sister never made you watch that?
No.
Oh.
My sister could make me do anything.
I don't know. Anyway,
Okay.
You should see that. We should watch it at some point.
Anyway.
So anyway... they're like a graphic design company that also does like collaborations with other publishers, and
which, I mean, admittedly, if they worked on the graphic design of this, well done.
Yes. So that's how I knew that Sabaton has a some kind of a board game or a card game with them, and then there's a couple others. So you see on the side it says Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal Board Game Collection number 1.
Yeah, so that implies that there's several others.
That would imply that, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, they have I had my phone to show which ones they have.
For what?
Because they have like Therian,
Sabaton, Powerwolf,
Blind Guardian, Rhapsody of Fire.
I know these names. Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to see what Sabaton's was. Just
So while you search that, so this is 14 plus, 60 to 90 minutes supposedly to play, and for 2 to 5 players. Some of these games are board games are actually great for single player as well. What are you looking at?
Nothing. It's all. Never mind.
Nothing. Okay.
No, I would go into a rabbit hole, and then you guys are just gonna see me scrolling for like 15 times.
So it says, Armata Strigoi, lasst einen ersten Kampf weiter aufblenden. Okay, we won't read this in German.
No.
But they have it in German, English, Italian, French, and Portuguese.
Yes.
Armata Strigoi recreates an epic battle where the players choose their own way, but only together can they claim victory. May the full moon be with you. Start a prayer. Werewolves don't discuss. Hooah!
No, okay, so this is for 2 to 5 players.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to take 60 to 90 minutes.
Yes. So we have a few metrics we're gonna be grading this on. And you can see us. We're gonna switch to an overhead shot part way through once we've done the setup, but we'll explain afterwards how we feel like the difficulty of the game itself, the learning curve for the game, like how difficult it is to learn.
Because we
how
have
they
some
explain
games
those rules.
where, because if you haven't played it in a while, then you have to reread all the rules, and then that can take like over an hour. So we want to see if is something that's quick to learn, or if you have to do a lot of setup and like. And
there are definitely games that, like, for example, Pandemic, which we'll probably address later on, that has like it's quick to learn, but it's a fairly complicated setup, despite how few pieces there are, just because how you have to shuffle the cards. But then you have other games like Eldritch Horror, which is an immensely complicated setup.
And
with
you need like
a
very large table.
And an enormous table, which we barely have enough space to play that on this.
Yeah.
So we're going to switch over. We're going to learn a little bit about this, and we'll cut to some point us playing this, I think. We'll see how this... We'll see. This is our first time doing a board game review, so we're going to talk about this, I guess. We'll just kind of wing it, see what happens.
Okay.
Catch you in a moment. New plan. We're actually just going to look at... just take a quick look at some of these components here. So off the gate. Right out the gate?
Right out the gate.
Right out the gate. Off the hook, off the chain. Yanking my gate.
Off the bat?
Off the bats. Batting off.
Yeah.
Teeing off, line up. Anyway, loving the art right on the backs of these cards. This is fantastic. They have some really nice...
We appreciate the tarot size, the attention to detail. How
we did say that.
How do the cards feel? Like...
Well, you tell me. They feel pretty good. I mean, they're
it's fine.
So, sometimes you get cards that kind of feel like crap.
Well, or if they're like flimsy, or you know that they're probably gonna
warp or tear.
I like these though.
Yeah, these aren't bad. Okay.
Oh, they look nice.
The color's nice on them. Okay. And then, like most of these, actually, a couple things. And I think we see this now more with modern games than anything else, is they come with extra plastic bags, which I actually love.
We appreciate because, I was like, how many of these
we do have
size? So there's only 4 of these.
4 of these
size things to punch.
Some of them already fell through, but yeah, this should all be familiar. You kind of like punch through all of this.
What was one of the games we had? If there were so many pieces.
Yeah.
And they were so tiny, you were afraid you were going to like actually rip the token.
That's true. Yeah, I think
these are really
I feel like
easy.
Eldritch Horror was like that. Say Eldritch Horror, if you've never played that one, we will address that one at some point. Has these tiny cards.
No,
which really makes for a really complicated setup. Also, this is enormous. This instruction book.
But I think it's because it's in multiple languages. Because I briefly just like opened it up and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to read this. This is all in German.
Well, that one's.
We could
do it in Italian.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, we're not doing it in Italian. We're gonna read it in English.
Fine.
So
that's probably
really,
second.
This is probably, So because they've done it in so many languages. This book is quite literally 4 times longer than it probably needs to be.
But then that must be kind of.
It's weird. Even when it has it in German, it says like the evil made me do it, and then it switches immediately into German for that section.
Yeah, but I think it's because English does have like the most.
Most words. Yeah.
So I mean.
So what I'm hoping.
That's kind of.
So this is the German version. So I assume it's going to start with German.
It's going to be the second.
Which is how I would prefer this to be done too. You want each section to be its own language. You don't want to have to like set up German, English.
Yeah, I
English.
don't
That
like
would be
that.
a nightmare.
We
because
have a couple games like that, though.
we do have a couple games like that. Okay, and it looks like the actual instructions are actually just a few pages.
That's good.
It's actually, this is round summary. So it starts, so in English, it starts on, page 8, and it looks like it ends on page 15. It's actually quite short. And it's mostly large pictures.
Page 9.
No, this is not the last page of it, though. It ends right.
No, where it starts. Because that's still...
Oh, it's still German. Oh, you're right, it's still German. So it starts on page 9, it goes to page, what did we say, 15? Yeah. And it has these very large pictures, so it's easy to follow.
Okay,
and that's
so
actually a nice thing.
it's really
When
not
the
that
instructions
bad.
are a lot smaller,
Mhm.
I find that they have less room for pictures to actually explain what's going on. So, but I like being able to see this very visually. So this is nice. Okay, so we're gonna set this up. We'll let you know how we feel about the setup and all this at the end of the game. But you can keep an eye out for possible time lapse. I think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Why not?
We'll set it up, and that'll actually probably have better lighting because of
Oh, because it's on a different...
because on a different camera.
Yeah.
See you in a moment. Okay, so we've played through the first half of this game.
Yes.
And we've played
First
impressions. We've played a lot of really complicated games. So the style of these, I think, the tokens feel great. I love that these are little raised platforms. Some of the mechanics, and you can see this from above, some of these mechanics involve rotating these platforms, which is really clever.
Sometimes you can jump to a different or teleport.
Yeah, so these enemy
stuff.
vampires here, the Strigoi, they teleport from platform to platform. And so it's interesting because if you know on your cards here, you have your attacks, your movement, you have special abilities, and at the end of every turn, one of the Strigoi moves. And you can kind of predict what direction he's going to move in. So if you have the ability to rotate platforms with your card, you can kind of anticipate which one might be moving and then rotate platforms. Now I will say you do draw from one of these, 6 tokens, which Strigoi moves at the end of your turn. There's only 6 though, and you seem to be cycling through them. So I think for my part, I would have preferred it to I don't like those tokens. I think I would have preferred them done one of 2 ways. Either a small deck of cards that you pull one from randomly and you kind of recycle them, or just one of those little flick spinner things that just chooses. And some of these, it gives the Strigoi an extra attack or an extra attack, but it does extra damage. And I think there's just so few of these tokens that shuffling them there's only 6 of them. So potentially, if there's 5 players, you're shuffling them at the end of every round. Right?
True.
So that for me is a little strange. And shuffling tokens is not the same as shuffling cards.
Well, yeah, because you can't really randomize it that much.
Exactly. And I think that
Tilly, what's going on?
Our little bunny is standing fully upright. So I don't know. I think they could have done that part better. And I imagine it's cheaper just to make cards than it is to make little cardboard cutouts. But whatever. Anyway, okay. So the gameplay itself actually moves really quick, I think. It does actually seem to move pretty quick.
Well, especially once we kind of got the sense of how the workflow goes.
Right.
I also like that each of the Powerwolf characters has slightly different strengths.
Yes.
So, I was playing Falk Maria Schlegel. Sorry, I'm not good with
No, you're good.
So he is more of a healer, and you were Matthew Greywolf.
Matthew Greywolf, who is the hunter. So he gets additional movement. So for each of the characters, they have 6 cards, and 4 of them are identical for each of them, but 2 of them are unique to them. And it's actually based off some of the songs. So we've got Sanctified with Dynamite, Let There Be Night, whatever. But yeah, 2 of them are different, which kind of makes them stand out a little bit more. Then you have these additional ability cards here, or legendary actions here. You get reward tokens for defeating creatures that you fight along the way, or special cards here, which serve a different purpose. So it's kind of a lot of ways to power your folks. You have to collect these blood points. Now this changes the blood point, the altar that you collect from. You get these from fighting enemies here. This changes based on the number of players that you have available. And I think I would have preferred. It says it in the rulebook. For 2 players you need 2 of these. For 3 players you need 2. For 4 players you need 3.
But I think it would be much more seamless if they put it on the card itself. Because we played other games where they have that.
Just print it on the card.
Yeah.
You know,
because I mean, then you're every so often we were like, okay, what is
and
this?
the numbers, especially if you've got this in English, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, are the same. Like at least drawn, so it's not even like it's a language issue, right? So just do 2 is going to be 2 of these blood points. 3 is going to be 2. I think 3 is 4, something like that. So that's worth knowing. Same thing here with like the demon altar, whatever. Okay, now the instructions themselves, they're really dense. There's a lot.
They're a little convoluted.
Yeah, there's actually kind of a lot in here. There's a couple of really large images that kind of really help set it up for you, but placement of the enemies, how they move, was actually not very clear. If you have a card that allows you to leap to a spot, but then you also have movement. Is
that counted separate, or is that counted as like one of the movements?
Exactly. So that part's not really clear. I like the round summary. I actually love the round summary, but it's not clear how that works. It's pretty good. I think somewhere in here it says
It does say something about for more of the rules or more of the I think more explanation that they have a website that you would go to.
Yeah, I don't love
that. That seems to be more of a common thing. Like even when you're doing your PC build, like there's a QR code for you to actually get the instructions. Yeah, the instructions.
I don't love that. I don't like it at all. Especially if there's gonna be additional rules that's not included. If there's an errata or anything, put it in the book.
I'm also thinking of just down the line. So usually if you're getting a board game, it's.
If you get it,
you're going to have it for quite some time, right? It's not like, hey, you play it and then you forget it, or maybe that is for some folks that they just keep it as like a trophy or something. But I'm thinking what about 10 years from now? We're still playing this game. We had a question. What about if they don't have the domain anymore?
That's
true.
Then
what happens to those rules?
Exactly.
That's very far in the future, a far off future problem for Rob and Katie. But I just think from a practical standpoint, it would be more helpful to have all of the rules and all of the context in one place instead of the piecemeal, okay, now we have to go to page 13, now we have to go to page this, then we have to go to page that. It makes it a little... Right. Honestly, a little bit more difficult for a learning curve. I think once we kind of got the sense of what was going on,
it did move pretty quick.
It moved quickly, and it was something you could remember.
Yes.
It's just having to get up to speed that's a little bit difficult.
There are a good bit of icons that you have to kind of reference back to, but I don't think that's uncommon for a game of this complexity. I don't think it's the most complex game we've ever played. No. I like the idea of platforms getting destroyed as we play, so that's kind of clever. We didn't really get to that. We got to that point, we defeated one of the creatures, but I could tell this game was going to go on a lot longer, and we had stuff to do today. We have to go to the gym later, and we're running out of time, actually, as we're saying this. I've seen other games. We've had a board game that had the manual in multiple languages. I can't remember which one it was. But it did actually have four language books. They were all separate.
It could have been Tuscany.
It could have been Tuscany, actually.
Could have been that.
And I actually prefer that. I like that they put all languages in here, they've kind of separated them. But I think it would have just been easier to make this 4 times and just make them smaller, right? Give me a few more pages or whatever, and I think that actually would be easier. Now, admittedly, this is art in and of itself.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to grab our
the list of things that we were going to review? Yeah.
So, okay, let's start at the top. So the learning curve for the game itself. And that's, might include the book itself. I think the book needs work. The instructions need work.
And I do think part of it is something does get lost in translation, right? Yes. Because there isn't always a 101 when you're trying, you literally think slightly differently depending on the language that you are...
This is true.
You're speaking and how you're trying to communicate. So I think some of it could be because of how many times they had to try and translate the instructions. So that's something to keep in mind. Something else is...
But if they're doing that, did someone play test this in English? Right. So that might be a factor as to why it's not as good as it could be, but...
Possibly.
Does that excuse it? Because us reading this...
I think it just provides a little bit of context. I don't think it's necessarily an excuse.
Is it... If this was the first really complex game you've ever played, if you've gone from tic-tac-toe or, I don't even, something like Villainous to this, This is going to be really... For us, this wasn't particularly overwhelming, but I think for someone
I think if it's maybe one of your, like a foray into something that has both like a cooperative, but then you're doing kind of individual stuff, and then also having to have the strategy component of like thinking ahead, I think having to do a little bit of like assembly, like...
We're strictly talking about learning to play the game.
Yeah, I think the instructions are in and of itself a little bit of a puzzle. So I think...
So it's not as good as it could be.
I don't think so.
So what is our learning curve looking like? It's not great.
I would say it's a medium. If you're going to do it like, easy, medium, hard,
it's somewhere in the
probably
middle.
In the middle.
It's a little on the difficult side, but not too bad. We've played way worse games. We've also played way easier games, which you'll see in the future.
Yes.
Okay, so that's our learning curve. How's the actual difficulty of the game? It seems fairly challenging. You kept getting your ass handed to you by monsters.
Yeah, well, because I'm a healer.
Well,
but I kept involved, and then part of it is a luck thing because you have the tokens. You don't, they're turned down. It is the luck of the draw, and I obviously, if I don't have bad luck, I don't have luck at all. So I think that was part of it. Okay,
so it doesn't seem, like games like Pandemic, which are intensely difficult to actually win sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You're set up to fail for that.
Right. And I don't think this one's like set up to fail. I think it's possible to win, and it seems fairly reasonable to be able to win. Mm-hmm. We need to play through this more, and maybe we'll do an update later on, but either as a video or as a comment down below.
It would be interesting to see if we do it from completely start to finish when we have ironed out all of the rules, how difficult it is to try and defeat the Strigoi with 2 people as opposed to like 3 or 4.
That means we have to make friends.
We have friends that just not all of them like complex board games.
That's fair. So expect at some point there will be a pinned comment down below about any future ideas or opinions we have. If it's not tagged at this video as part of the video as well. Okay, so seems reasonably difficult. Like
I think so. I think
it's a fair challenge, but not Pandemic levels of challenge.
Well, yeah, and I think the first playthrough, it will take longer than an hour and a half because you are trying to clarify, like.
This is a game you want to read the instructions. If there's one person who's explaining how to play it, which there usually is, you want to read the instructions, possibly watch a video or something how to play this, and I'll try to find one. Maybe I can link it down below as well to see how you actually play this. Check the description because it's not clear. This instruction booklet could be better. Okay, so all right, now the actual setup of the game itself. You put this piece in the center, I think. Then you have all these additional hexagonal pieces that kind of go around, and you can place them however you want. You can rotate them however you want. It gives you advice as to like not put them in certain areas, and then you choose your starting location by adding some stairs on the side, which can get destroyed. And this is where you start from. So I like, and that's it. And then you separate tokens, you separate cards. There's nothing to shuffle into other cards. You just kind of separate.
And really, like even the platforms, you just put them however you want.
Yeah.
For the amount of like tokens and cards and things, I know it could look intimidating at first.
This is actually really easy.
It was very quickly assembled and very, it wasn't a headache trying to set it up.
Right. No, I thought the setup is super easy. So easy setup, I would say like 5 out of 5 ranking, but that makes it sound like it's a lot of setup. It's not. Yeah. It's super. This is super easy. We've done way worse, and I think Pandemic is worse. I think Eldritch Horror is worse.
Very complex.
Yeah. So this was fine. The setup was fine. Now the quality of the pieces that we're looking at, I like the art on the cards is fantastic across the board. The symbols are nice and clear. This feels nice and sturdy. Like I suppose you could pop these out, but I'm just probably gonna leave them in here.
That's fine.
But everything feels quite sturdy. I like them. The book is a really nice quality instruction book. Even though we don't really use much of it, the book is a really nice quality. So that is nice. Now, overall enjoyment. I actually liked it.
I did.
I liked it.
I think, once we've completely done the entire thing, if we had more time, maybe my opinion would change slightly, and I think it would be more positive. Yeah. I still think overall I've had a good time so far, but I want to be able to see from start to finish.
Yeah.
So I think once we have a little bit of clarification on like a few items, and that could again just be because of translation or how they have it set up, or it could be just our interpretation.
Right.
I think I look forward to just completing.
If we had a better setup, if we can get monetized and get better lights, better camera, we can actually do a setup where we show you how to play the game. Top down, this is how you play, this is your move, this is your turn, here's what happens. And that would be super helpful, I think, for a lot of folks. But hopefully someone's already made that video.
I hope
and
so.
we just do that. Now, last 2 things worth considering. Some games are competitive, some games are cooperative. Sometimes they're competitive. So things like Grim something that we have. Grim Darkness, whatever it's called.
It's something like that.
Where you're cooperative, you have to defeat the enemy together, but at the end of the game, everyone's got separate points.
There's always going to be one winner. It's not it's a team win or it's a team loss. No.
So with this one, is it competitive? Is it cooperative? Is it competitive?
I would still say overall it is cooperative.
There's an interesting twist though.
So the interesting twist is you can't talk about your strategy or what your card is before you
reveal anything. Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. So like the whole point of the way that it's set up is you're basically
a team of werewolves
storming the castle, right? Yeah. So you're trying to get to the Strigoi. You're defeating you're having mini battles here and there depending on the token that you stumble on. But because you're in different parts of the fortress, you can't communicate with your fellow Powerwolves.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like they say even as it's actually in the rules, like because you're werewolves who are not known for organizing, you don't really organize. You just kind of like move stuff, and you can't say like at the end of my turn that even once you revealed your cards, you say you should move here. None of that. You don't reveal your cards. You don't do anything until stuff's already happened, and your strategy gets thrown because even if you plan like, all right, well I can go here, and then one of these 2 enemies is going to move here.
Oh yeah, you totally got wounded because I didn't think
so,
about that, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to help me, and then I didn't realize it was going to impact him.
Because it, with the card you played, you had moved, you fought something, and then the character moved here, which put her in my line of sight. So then we got into a fight, and I was able to counterattack and wound her, but still I took a wound as well. So interesting stuff like that were kind of those, or if you're planning to attack on your turn, but you have a card that has like a worse initiative, so that means because we don't take turns in the same order. Your turn order will change based on the initiative at the top of your card. So you had it as low as 2 or as high as 45. That's also
surprising. So like in D&D and a lot of other kind of like role playing or strategy games, usually you want a higher number for your initiative to make you go first, but here it's the exact opposite.
It's true.
So because my person was a healer, for some reason, I don't know why he had the lower number for initiative.
And you only had 2 cards that actually healed, right?
2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then the other thing too, so that's a reference to kind of old D&D. Like if you ever played like D&D 2nd edition, normally at the start of your turn, you'd actually roll initiative every single time.
Really?
That used to be that's how it used to be run. Every turn, because then it kind of shakes up the whole thing. Nowadays, it's just easier to be like, all right, here's the turn order. Everybody just goes in that circle. So this kind of uses like that old D&D style. But I would say yes, no, it is definitely more cooperative because you still want to win at the end. So okay, and then the last one is how much of it is luck versus how much of it is strategy. I think there is a good bit of strategy when you're picking your card.
Sure.
Right? If I look at this card, I say, all right, I've got a 29 initiative or I've got a 27 initiative, so this is pretty close. You want a lower number to go first. I've got 4 movement and 2 attack. I've got 4 movement, 2 movement. I've got 5 attack or 4 attack. And I've had some with as low as 2 attack, right?
Yes.
So if I've got some with 2 attack, I probably don't want to actually attack anything. But then you can also leap. You can try to stealth and try to see what enemies are around. You can try to rotate platforms. So there's a good bit of strategy, like planning ahead for your turn, even without knowing what anybody else is doing, which is the point. So I think there's that. But then sometimes you draw a token, and it's pretty crappy.
I mean, it could be something where I thought I had a pretty good hand. Like I had one where it was a 5 attack. Again, I'm a squishy character.
You're saying you're squishy like we have health. We don't have health.
No, but that's what I think of because like his attack, it's not like he's like 7 attack or whatever. I don't even know if they have that.
Yeah.
But then like I was trying to get more rewards and other things, so I was like, oh, let me try and pick off some of these lower, like what I thought were gonna be the less difficult enemies. And then like right off the bat, I had one that had like a strength of 7. I'm like,
the highest I see is 6. There's a 6 and there's a 5, and a couple 5s.
Okay.
So that's about as high as I get. Okay.
Well, regardless. So like for some of those, it is a little bit of luck, just depending on like what kind of a attack or like an enemy token you're picking up. But I think overall, if you're trying to put it as a spectrum, I think it is leaning more towards the strategy end of it.
I think the enemies would have been better done as cards as well.
Like these ones? No.
Those would have been better cards. I think even the enemies would have been better cards than tokens. Honestly, I like tokens, and they're great when you're placing them on a map. But to just have a token off the side, I don't think is good enough. I would, even if they did like the small, like the Eldritch Horror does with like the small cards, I think I still would have preferred that to a token. Like if you're placing it, this is the thing. If you're placing a token on a space,
well, then that makes sense because it's a placeholder.
Right. But if it's just a thing you're going to draw, look at, calculate, and put away and discard, and then shuffle, that I want.
You know, I agree. I agree with that. I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Okay. So luck versus strategy. I'd say it's more strategy than luck, but there's definitely still luck as a component.
Yes.
Okay. We'll move back with final thoughts in just a moment. Final thoughts. What do we think?
I'm happy to add this to our collection.
There is an expansion.
I want to be able to master.
I am curious what the expansion adds, because I mean, game expansions are always fun. Usually fun. When are they not fun? That's true. More so than even DLCs. Video game DLCs are sometimes crap, but board game expansions, they add interesting maps, they add additional stuff, they add tokens, whatever. So I would definitely pick it up, but I want to play this first though. So. Is this worth getting? If you're a fan of Powerwolf, 100%.
I think so.
Even if you don't intend to play it and you just want a collector's edition of a thing.
It's also like the artwork, the attention to detail.
Yes.
Like it seems fairly luxurious for a board game.
Yes.
In my opinion.
I agree.
And yeah, if you really like the band and you want to support them,
I guess. Yeah.
Because they don't have the cardigan available in the United States.
Yep.
Please work on that. It's really cute.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's worth it, and I think once we have a little bit of clarification on some of the aspects of the general gameplay, then.
And I don't remember how much I paid for it off the top of my head. I know it was under $40 plus shipping and handling, so it was fairly cheap.
As we know, because some of those board games get incredibly expensive.
They can get real expensive. Some of them, we've seen some for hundreds of dollars for really complex ones. No, I like it. I enjoy this. I think it's fun. I think the fact that this kind of shifts and changes every turn kind of like makes the game a little more unique every time. A little bit.
Yes.
I like it. I say get it, especially if you're a fan of Powerwolf. Now, I think we should rock out for a moment to some good Powerwolf music. We can't because it's copywritten.
Yes.
So we can't play it.
I checked them out on Spotify or...
You weren't rocking out. You were sitting there just laughing at me the entire time.
I was.
Yeah, that's fair. But definitely check out Powerwolf on Spotify and Pandora. And
sure, check out their YouTube videos.
Yeah, they do. They have a bunch.
Because they have their music videos on there. It's really good.
Their music videos are actually fantastic. And check them out in concert because they are actually fantastic. Powerwolf, we love you. Come on back to LA and bring Windrose and Glory Hammer and Dragon Force and Ailstorm and Windrose with you. Did I say Windrose?
So is it like a whole festival then, if there's that many people?
Would you not go to that festival?
Oh, I totally would. 100%
go to that festival.
Where would they even put that here? It's not like it doesn't have like Coachella vibes.
It doesn't have Coachella vibes. No, this is yeah. I'm sorry that LA doesn't have nearly the same power metal fans that like Europe does. Europe has some really great music fans. Anyway, is that it?
I think so.
Okay. I left my coffee over there.
It's okay.
I am Rob / Grey Wolf.
That's mine.
I am Matthew Grey Wolf. Rob.
And I am Falk Maria Schlegel.
Katie! And may your blood be drunk and, I don't know, make a Powerwolfie.
What?
I don't know, I'm trying to...
we're gonna go drink our blood?
No, that's weird. That's weird.
I don't know.
Don't forget, metal is religion.
Yes.
Ciao.
No, I was gonna say we're gonna drink our life's blood, which is coffee, but yeah. I failed it.
No, that's fine. That was a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
Look at how cute they are.